Hello, hello, hello again. This is Camille Who, the teaching artist. All right, folks, in our little drama portion of this YouTube series, I'm going to share some fundamentals mixed in with my flavor and what I was able to uniquely intertwine and incorporate into my curriculum and my lesson plans for my drama classes. Now, some basic fundamentals of acting is this. First of all, here's something very, very interesting about drama, about acting. I'm not talking about, like high school drama. I'm talking about drama on stage, whether you're on stage or on screen, the actual art form of drama or the art form of acting. It actually helps us to become emotionally aware, socially aware, spatially aware. It is a way that we can connect to life experiences and learn through those life experiences that are portrayed. When you are acting, you are telling a story with your voice, your body, and your imagination. So it has to be imagined up here first, and then you tell the story. But what also helps tell the story, even though you're speaking, is your body language, which can become a great visual aid for your audience to really just be deeply affected. I have taught many drama classes, or I've worked with many children or many actors who get a script, they read it, and then they memorize it, and then they rattle it off. As an audience member, you're not quite affected by it because the actor usually doesn't convey the feeling of it. They don't convey, they're just rattling off a bunch of words, or a monologue or a dialogue or whatever it is. They're just rattling off what they memorized, but they don't quite understand and they don't quite grasp what they are doing, which leads me to my next point. Did you know that acting is doing? That's it. It's that simple. And I ask my students in the very beginning of our year, there's a lesson that I start out with, and then we start to talk about what acting is. Now, first, my first lesson is usually about energy, okay? Here's where I took my massage therapy and healing arts background and some of the principles from there, and I incorporated it into my acting and my movement in acting curriculum, helping my students become aware of the fact that they are energy beings, and that when they walk into a room, they affect the energy of everyone else in that room. Everyone else in that room may not necessarily know that they're being affected, but somehow they feel it. If they pick up on it, they're feeling something change. And I use this as an example. Have you ever been in a room by yourself and someone walks in? They don't make a sound, you don't see them, but somehow you feel that someone is there? That is because their energy has now affected yours. By just walking into the room and being in the same space, you're picking up on the energy of someone else. Likewise, it works like that with emotions. If I'm feeling something and I express that feeling, I can infect the environment. A little bit more on that later. But so knowing that energy-wise we can affect the energy in the room, then I try to get my students to grasp the concept of being in control of this energy that they have, and how to wield it, and how to send it out, and how to send it to someone else, and how to receive it, and how to really just embody that energy. And so I incorporate that in a lot of the ways that they physically tell the story. Later on, you'll see I will show one of my activities that I do to help my students grasp the concept of levels of energy and how to express those levels of energy and how to really send it out there to your audience so then they are also affected by it. I'm all about affecting the audience. I've been a performer my whole life, and I think one of the things that make me a dynamic performer or performing artist is that I somehow affect the energy in the room. I had no idea that I did this. I was told, I think after a while of being told it, I wanted to really break it down. And then when I started to take massage, when I went to massage therapy and healing arts school, I was doing energy work, and the light bulb went off, and I was like, oh, that's what's happening. Only I didn't know that that's what I was doing. So what if I could break that down in my acting classes and teach that? And then teach my students to also infect the room and infect their audience and be able to just, use that energy and wield it. Drama or acting also increases compassion, self-regulation, mindfulness, and maturity. So drama and acting, and many of the arts, is really effective in that way. So acting, is doing. It really is that simple. So you have your energy, and you have ways to learn how you are affecting the energy of the room and wielding this energy. Now let's add that to acting. And the fact that acting means doing, it really depends on the actor knowing what their character is doing. Usually I ask my students, what is acting? It's usually in the beginning of the year. So I know most times they're not going to get the answer right. But I like usually the answers that come up are you dress up in a costume and perform on stage. And I go, nope, it's a whole lot simpler than that. You pretend to be someone. No, it's a lot simpler than that. And those are the common answers that I usually get year after year. But really, acting it's to act is to do, and to do is a verb. An action word is a verb. So it doesn't matter what your character is in order to know what you are doing. So when you learn a script, it's important. I mean, in order to convey this message, to tell this story using your voice and using your body in the most effective way, one must know their action. What are their actions? So when you read a line, so this is what I started to teach my students is let's take a little story and let's just read this story and start by doing storytelling. Now, in every line, we break it down, and we start going, okay, now what's the action here? What the person that's speaking or who is speaking, and that person, what's their action? Are they telling us something? Are they describing something? Are they denying something? Are they accusing? So there's, it's important to know what you're doing. So you take that knowledge. And then you already have a character, right? So I explain to them as you're not pretending to be that character, you are that character. In acting, there is a thing called character building. So that means you give that you use your imagination and you give that character that you are a backstory. Where are they from? How long have they been here? Have they been here their whole lives? Do they have parents? Were their parents nice? Are they a girl? Are they a boy? Like what are the things? What are the things? And give them a backstory so then this helps your imagination. And well, if this person fell when they were 8 years old, they probably have a limp. Okay, so then this person's probably going to walk with a limp. Okay, so now knowing who this character is by character building, by building this character's backstory, when you give that character an action, then who they are is going to do that action. Does that make sense? If you're walking, that's an action. If you're an old lady walking, if you're a police officer walking, if you are a 3-year-old walking, or even a 1-year-old walking, there's a difference because you already have some sort of reference to those characters. And so that's how we break it down in character building. When you know and can really imagine what your character is, who your character is, then you can take that, you can identify the action in the script, and then you can just do that action. When you speak it, you're already, in your imagination, you are that person already. And when that character speaks, with whatever feeling that they have or whatever action they are performing in the moment, it's just that much more to connect with, and then that much more real. I always tell my students, what are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself? Like if you are that character and if you are supposed to be angry and if you are just pacing the floor, what are you telling yourself? That's where your imagination comes in. You know what the character's backstory is. What is that character telling themselves over and over again? And when you're constantly telling yourself that, you become that. It becomes real to you. And the more real it becomes to you, the more you can embody that. Your voice will then change and it will convey and will tell that story more effectively, and your body will naturally. So you're not trying to create this new thing. You are just already that thing and you believe it because you've told yourself that story over and over again. And then the more real it is to you, the more real it is to your audience. the more affected you are by it, the more affected your audience becomes. That's just a little tidbit of how I start my drama classes for the year whenever I'm teaching for a full year. I usually start with that. I start with energy work. I start with energy awareness and energy building and becoming aware in your physical body of energy and how you can wield that energy, how you can send the energy to someone else. And I really just have them think of it as something that's very tangible, like a ball, and they can throw that ball and watch the ball go to where it needs to go. So when you're doing that to your audience is like, whoa, what's happening? And they don't even know it. That's what's so cool about it. And then I incorporate energetic awareness to recognizing, identifying your action. And then I always say, what are you telling yourself? So you have your imagination, you have your body, your energy, how you use it, and your voice tends to follow. For example, I could be denying something. If I'm telling myself I want some ice cream, then it's hard for me to convey, I didn't steal the ice cream. It's hard to say that, but if someone's saying you stole that ice cream, and I know I didn't steal that ice cream, like it's going on in my head, you stole that ice cream, you stole that ice cream. No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Then somehow the voice follows what you're telling yourself, and then your body starts to follow as well. So there's a lot to think about, and I think that's the reason why acting becomes this vehicle for being self-aware, for being compassionate, for being spatially aware, for being socially aware, and it really leads to maturity on the actor's part. I also remind students that when you feel angry and you send that energy out there, just by what you're telling yourself, how your voice comes out because of it, how your body is affected by that anger, it is contagious. Same thing with sadness, the same thing with happiness, the same thing with, any emotion. And guess what? I found a biblical principle that backs it up. Proverbs 22 verses 24 to 25, King James Version. Make no friends with an angry man, or with a furious man thou shalt not go, lest you learn his ways and get a snare to thy soul. Ooh. See, that's really just broken down. It's really just telling you that you can be affected by the emotions of someone else. You can be affected by the disposition of someone else. And so you really just watch out who you hang out with. Why? Because emotions are contagious and behavior is contagious. And who you hang out with, you can learn their ways. It's contagious. You can learn their ways. And then later on, it's hard for you to get rid of those habits. In acting, it's different, but it really just says a whole lot about how emotions are contagious. And if we are using them in a positive way, if we're using them with drama, then knowing that principle lets you know that you can affect your audience's energy, their emotions, and they can have so much more of a deep experience. I'm Camille Who, the teaching artist, and I am out. I didn't steal that ice cream.